If you're like me, you can't read too good. So Lost Caverns of Ixalan threw me a huge curveball when they introduced Descend and Discover in the same set. Both being D words made me very confused. So I've gone and done some research to help explain. Descend is interesting because it happens in various ways, which makes it even more confusing. Let's start with the easiest way with Basking Capybara. It says Descend 4, which doesn't mean you do something 4 times, but rather Capybara gets a bonus if you have 4 or more permanents in your graveyard. In this case, it gets +3/+0. The same goes for any other Descend 4 card. They all look a bit different with their abilities, but all you need to know is that you need 4 permanents in your graveyard. It's kind of like a modified version of Threshold. Reminder, permanents are typically at least 1 and possibly more of the following: Artifact, Battle, Creature, Enchantment, Land, or Planeswalker. So you don't reach Descend if you only have instants and sorceries in your graveyard. There are also Descend 8 cards. These are far more varied in what they can do and all look wildly different, but the same goes for these. As long as there are 8 or more permanents in your graveyard, you get the bonus. Interestingly enough, Lost Caverns of Ixalan only printed cards with either Descend 4 or Descend 8, no other numbers. But we may see more numbers in the future. The second way Descend works is similar, but different enough that I could see why it's a tad bit confusing. It was definitely confusing for me at first. Let's just say there's a big difference between Descend and Descended. This is very crucial. Deep Goblin Skulltaker states that if you descended this turn, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And you can see at the bottom there, it says in parentheses, you descended if a permanent card was put into your graveyard from anywhere. But Manfred, Descend 4 and Descend 8 had nothing to do with putting cards into your graveyard. They only dealt with permanents already in your graveyard. Yes, you would be right. Remember, Descended is actually different from Descend. Descended has more correlation to milling, surveilling, and discarding than it does to Descend. While Descend gives you a bonus for having 4 or 8 or more permanents already in your graveyard, Descended wants you to actively put that permanent into your graveyard on that turn. This could mean, again, you could mill it, you could surveil it, you could discard it, you could have something die. Doesn't matter the method, you have descended this turn if one of those things happens, specifically with a permanent. Most of these cards trigger on your end step and again do various things. Skulltaker did the counter, but Scallywag makes treasures. I'm sure you get it at this point. So why did R&D decide to make Descend so weird? They made the keyword do 2 different things. It's a mix of Threshold and Ascend. It's just kind of odd to me. It's similar to Undergrowth or Revolt as well. These abilities do one specific thing and don't really mix. What if there was a card that said at the beginning of your end step, if you Undergrowth did do XYZ? That doesn't really make sense. I get why it makes sense and it's very flavorful, but again, I can see why one would get confused. Again, this was very confusing to me, but I hope this helped you understand Descend better. Thank you to my Patreon subscribers, and if you'd like to purchase any Descended cards, check out the TCGplayer affiliate link in the description below, and make sure you join me next week for your weekly dose of magic.